equations come in a lot of different forms, shapes, and variety. Let's take a look at some and see that we can solve even equations that involve subtraction. So here's the first one. S minus 5 equals 12. So what's the goal? The goal is to find a value for the unknown S that makes this thing hold, finding a solution to the equation. So what does that mean? Remember, think of S as some number that we just don't know yet. And the question is, what number is that? So I want to have, at the end of the day, S equals, ta-da, the answer. So what do I have to do? Well, I want to have S all by itself. And so what do I have to do? Well, here this is S minus 5 equals 12. So how do I get rid of the minus 5? I undo that by adding 5. Now, if I add 5 to the left-hand side to keep the scales of balance perfect, I have to add it to the right. Now, what do I see? Well, I see S, and then I have minus 5 plus 5. That equals 0. And so I just see S on the left equals, and I have 12 plus 5 equals 17. So I see the answer is S equals 17. Am I sure? Well, I'm pretty confident, but there's an easy way to see if it's correct or not. We check our answer. So what I want to do now is I want to take the 17 and insert it in for the unknown S and see if this thing is a true identity, if this thing, in fact, gives me a solution. So what do? I plug back in. So here's the check. So I plug in, replace the S by 17, subtract 5, and what does that give me? 17 minus 5 is indeed 12, and that checks with what it's supposed to be. And so, in fact, it checks. We got it. Neat. Okay, let's try another one. Here's a fun one. 35 equals y minus 6. Notice that the unknown can be on either side of the equation in any way, shape, or form. Here we see it's on the right-hand side, but still the goal is to figure out what that mysterious number is. That's some number in disguise. The disguise right now is y. Our job, to uncover the y. And why? Because we want to solve it. All right, so what do we have to do here? Well, what I want to do is I want to have y all by itself. 35 equals y minus 6. How do I undo the minus 6? I add 6 to both sides. Both sides, because I want to keep these scales perfectly balanced. So what do I get on the left-hand side? 35 plus 6 is 41. And what do I get on the right-hand side? Well, minus 6 plus 6 yields 0, and then I have the y still there. And so I see that y equals 41. So that's the solution. And the question is it right? Well, there's an easy way to find out. Let's check. And this is always sort of cool. You know, it's sort of neat that in math class, it's one of the few places where you can actually check and you can know for sure if you're right or not. So let's check it out here. What do I have to do? What does it mean to check? I've got to see if I replace that unknown y by this 41, if in fact this side will equal 35. So let's figure it out. I'm going to insert the 41 for y. So take 41 minus 6. And what's 41 minus 6? It works out to be 35. Notice, it checks. We got it. So that's the right answer. All right, let's try one more. And I want to give you a little heads up. I want you to watch this one really carefully, and I want you to see what you think about what I'm doing. Okay? That's your goal. All right, x minus 22 equals 44. The question is, what is the mysterious x? Well, now we're getting into the rhythm of this. We have this x minus 22. We have to undo the minus 22 by adding 22 to both sides. To both sides. So when I add, on the left-hand side, minus 22 plus 22 is 0, so I just have the x plus 0. And on the right-hand side, I have 22. So there is my answer. Great! But let's see if it's right by checking. So what do I have to do? What I have to do now is replace this unknown x by the guess 22. So we compute the left-hand side, 22, that's x, minus 22. 22 minus 22, that equals 0, but that does not equal the right-hand side, 44. Uh-oh, something is wrong. See, here's an example where by checking the answer, we saw that we must have made a mistake somewhere. Now, did you find the mistake that I made? I bet you did, because if you go back a little bit, what you could see here was that 44 plus 22 doesn't equal 22. That was a mistake. So let's see if we can actually figure this out correctly. Start from scratch. And by the way, this is exactly what everyone has to do if they make a mistake. They just got to start from scratch, learn from the mistake, and move on. So let's do the same thing again. I still want to undo the minus 22, so I'm going to add 22 to both sides. I'm not afraid. I have not lost any confidence. In fact, I'm stronger than ever. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now when we combine, what do I see? Well, on the left-hand side, minus 22 plus 22 is 0, so I just have the x. And now let's add carefully. 44 plus 22 is 66. So that seems like a different guess. And now we can check to see if that answer is correct. How do I do it? I replace the x by 66, subtract the 22, x minus 22, and I hope this is going to equal 44. Let's figure it out. 66 minus 22. Yep, 44. It checks. Finally, cha-ching! I got it right. So checking is a great way to see if you're on target or maybe made a little teeny arithmetical mistake. Enjoy solving these fun equations. I'll see you soon.